Hi, welcome everyone. We're back with the Maya Thomas story. uh, Kind of charming Maya. Thanks for coming back. You're in New York,
Of course, thanks for having me.
and you're having a safe day in New York, I imagine.
Yes, I am safe inside, healthy, and loving it.
You changed your background.
Oh yeah, this is the wall that was to the left of me last time.
Yeah,
You know?
you had a big teddy bear last time, I think. In there.
Yeah, the teddy bear's still there, and he still has a hat. And now Charmander is next to him and has a hat.
Nice.
I don't question it. I just go with it and embrace it. You know?
Sure. Hey, what do I know you don't have what do people do with the designers, costume designers do with your hair in the play? 'Cause you have such wonderful hair and it's almost its own personality.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love my hair and how big it is and how fabulous it is, and I'm happy that they were able to incorporate it in some way in the show. Luckily, the characters that I play, they all have a wig that is in somewhat of a natural style, like a curl, which is really nice. The wig that I wear for my regular track looks basically like my hair but short. So that's really nice. That I feel like hair has come such a long way in the theater world, at least for women of color and representation of women of color in hair. So I'm really happy that they were able to just keep the curls alive, you know?
Yeah, it looks great. It looks great.
Thank you.
So I want to talk about that, Maya. Okay. So you were up there and you were going on auditions. What's How did you get it? How do you get into auditions? First of all, how easy is that to do? How much does it come from you? How much do you have to really like go for it? How does that happen for anybody who's aspiring to something like this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky enough, like I said yesterday, to have an agent who does a lot of the grunt work for me, and I'm very grateful for them. So usually I do get emails or calls or texts about casting calls and
Okay.
things, and I go through those. But until I really was solid with my agent and in doing that, I searched a lot on playbill.com. They have a whole section for all types of theater jobs all across the country. And that's a really good place to start, especially if you're not sure. They have things for national tours, AEA, non-equity, all of the things. So that's a really good place to look. And then places like Backstage or Actors Access as well.
And what is a typical audition like? And I guess, even in the Easton, you go through an audition process and you get nervous about which part you're going to get. You hope you're going to get it. I'm not trying to compare the two in any way, although other than it's a comparative sort of, process. What is it like in New York City?
Up here, I mean, simply because I am in the middle of like the theater like hub of things, and like we are in like Broadway territory. So everybody around here is really fighting for like the big things. Like that's like a lot of their goals eventually. But because of that, like the people who you're going to go into an audition with, similarly, like when I came into NYU, like you're surrounded by people who know what they're doing and who are talented and who deserve just as much as you do to be there. And so everybody's really fighting for their chance to be seen. But just to give you an idea, I went to the Rent open calls for a national tour. So in terms of an open call where it's not equity and there's definitely going to be a lot more people there, I woke up at like 3 a.m, got there at 5, waited outside. I was the second person in line. I don't know how I pulled that off. We went upstairs. They put us all into like holding rooms and things. We turned in our resumes and headshots. They kind of just had us waiting. We were all like listening to our music and like trying to calm ourselves. People had tea, people had coffee, people were like on the ground, like trying not to cry. People were crying. It's interesting. It's definitely, it's a wild experience if you're not used to it. And I'm just going to be straight up with you. Like that was like my first like open call that I went to, and I was in the world. Like it's crazy, but it was definitely fun. And that, like, the scary part of it should not deter anybody from trying to do this part, because everything that you do in life is going to be scary, and the faster that you get over that, the better for yourself, because then you're not going to be afraid to do anything. But to continue with that, after a certain amount of time, I actually had a test that day, so I went up to the lady and I was like, I know that you're calling people in order, and I know that there is no way that I should be put above any of these people, but I have a test that counts for like 50% of my grade. Is there any way that I might be able to be put in like one of the sooner groups rather than later? And she was like, what's your name? And I was like, Maya Thomas. And she was like, I got you. And I swear that was something that I've never had before, like somebody just being so willing to help you because they know that everybody there is trying so hard to be seen and to feel like they did their best. And she was like,
Right.
girl, not a problem. And I was like, thank you. So then I ended up,
and refreshing.
yeah, it was wonderful. Like that kind of thing in such a crazy environment, it really calms you for a second and calms your nerves. And you're like, okay, there are people on my side when it feels like everybody else is kind of against you, which was really awesome. But then I went into the room and there was only one person behind the desk and the accompanist. And I did what I had to do. I sang my songs. They talked to me a little bit. And then that was kind of that. And then they sent me on my way. And I didn't get called back for it, but I wasn't really going to get called back. I mean, it would have been great, but I really went for the experience of it. And it was something like I've never seen before, but something that I would totally do again if the chance presented itself.
So then how many auditions had you been on by the time you were auditioning for the Harry Potter part?
I had been, I don't even know.
100?
I don't think it was yet 100, but it was definitely upwards 50, probably. So maybe like around 50 or less. But
and then what was that audition process like?
For Harry Potter? It
same thing. You went in, you didn't have to sing a song. You had to read something?
No, I didn't have to sing, thank God. But I did have to go in and do a monologue. Not like necessarily a monologue. It was the scene from the, it was a side. That's what I'm trying to say. It was a side. A side is like a section from the play that they give you for an audition. And so I read for Rose Granger Weasley, who's Hermione's daughter. And I read the one side that they gave me twice. And then I ended up leaving. I got a call back for a movement audition. So that was just them to kind of get us in the room to see how we moved and see what our energy levels were like and our what's it called? Your endurance. Just because there is a lot of like heavy lifting, pushing, doing a big dance, and then having to go and do more things. So they want to make sure that you can keep up with the high pace of everything.
And that's called a movement audition.
Yes, that was a movement. And then after that, I got called back for, I think it was one more movement and 2 more reading auditions. And then the very last audition was it was a test for some of the effects in the show. I can't really say too much about that, obviously, for obvious reasons. But that was part of my audition, was testing my ability for some of the effects that we do have on stage.
And you're in a regular room, just a room anywhere USA.
Yeah,
a dance room, a movement room, I imagine, was bigger, that sort of thing.
Yes, definitely.
And then you that could be anywhere. So then were you feeling good about the audition at the time? Were you feeling that, hey,
I mean, I was, as I kept getting called back, I started to feel a little bit more confident in my abilities. Now, I didn't let that like get into my head and get in my way, because I still wanted to be on my feet and give my all to the moment that I was presenting. But I definitely felt a calm of my nerves a little bit the farther along I got. But then once I got to the very end of things, my nerves shot right back up, because I was like, oh, this is it. Like, this is the last thing I have to do. Like, now it's decision time. Like, if they call me, I'm on. And so then it was just a whole bunch of nerves, but also excitement, but also, I don't know, because there was about a month in between the actual last audition I had and me getting the role.
So from the last interview, you got that audition fairly quickly after you left NYU.
Yes. So
you just had to drop out of school.
Yes, I ended up I knew at the end of my sophomore year I was going to have to take a year off, but I didn't declare that year off until right before the school year started. So I knew I wasn't coming back. I declared in, I think it was August. I got the call in September.
Right. So I want to keep talking about the Harry Potter thing, but like, you've been up there for 2 years now.
Yes.
This is pretty quick, right? I mean, this happens. Do you have a sense of that, or it doesn't really matter? I guess it's happening. It's great, but like,
yeah, I mean, it's wonderful. Like, I honestly, yeah, it did happen fairly fast and way quicker than I ever thought it was going to. And I'm so blessed and humbled by that. Like, to be able to say that I moved to the city when I was 18 years old by myself, and now 3 years later, 1-year-old woman, have started to fulfill the dream that I came to the city for. Like, that in itself is mind blowing to me. Like,
yeah.
in 3 years, that's unfathomable, and it's beautiful, and I'm so grateful for it, and grateful for everybody who helped me get to this point. And it's like, it really does make you just kind of look at your life and realize how much that you have, and how happy I should be with myself. Because, like, not to toot my own horn, but I worked hard to get here. Like, it wasn't an easy walk in the park, and I accept that, and I hold dear to that, because if it was easy, I don't think I would have taken it as seriously.
Sure.
But because there was a definite difficulty to it, no matter where I stood in terms of experience when I was younger, now that I'm here, when I was in the middle of my experimenting in the theater world, like, it's just all kind of led to this, and I'm very thankful for it.
Well, that might segue nicely into it, because I remember when your mom brought you to one of the very first things that you ever came out for, which was our annual holiday play, which we've been doing for 15 or 16 years. I don't even know how long it is, So, yeah. And you came in, and I've told you this story before, but you came in, you ran underneath the table, and you started to play and hide and all kinds of things like that. That was the very first thing you did when your mom said, "I think she's supposed to be an actress. I think this is what she's supposed to be doing," and that's what you did your very first time. What was it like? So you got the call from your agent, I think, to say, "Hey, she's in. We want her for Harry Potter." What was it like the first time you walked into the audition? Once you got the place, you're practicing, your tech practices for Harry Potter. What was that experience like?
I mean, walking into the audition room for the very first day was like insane. I expected to be in a rehearsal room with a bunch of very talented and cool people, but I didn't really expect that it was going to turn out as awesome as it did. Just because, like, this is something that this is a beast I've never taken on. And
sure, yeah, that's what I want to hear about it.
Yeah, and to be surrounded by so many, like, supportive people is phenomenal. It was definitely nerve-wracking, just because I am, other than the children that are in the show, because we do have some younger kids, I am the youngest person on cast. And it is, when I found that out, it was kind of weird, because I was like, do I deserve to be here? But then on the other hand, I was like, no, that's why you're here. That's why you're young and you're here, because the hard work that I've done over the past 3 years in being in the city, and then the stuff I've done in high school, in middle school, all of those, the fun shows that people didn't take seriously, but I definitely saw value in them. And to be able to say that, like, that all of that kind of culminated and allowed me to be worthy of standing in a room with so many other more experienced individuals, like, it really built me up a little bit. Because
did anybody say anything? Did anybody see that on your face? Did, like, your director or could they see and tell you something like, "Hey, you already passed the audition. That's why you're here. You definitely."
Yeah.
So I imagine that would be kind of freaky.
Yeah, it was. There was one day where we had a sit down. It was like my director, our movement director, and all of us new cast members, and they just kind of checked in with us and like, where are you guys? And I expressed that similar feeling to the room. Like, I for a really long time, it was hard to me. It was hard for me to accept the fact that I was there, because I was like, should I have worked harder? Like, should I not, am I not ready? Like, I'm still not done with school, like this, that, and a lot of my own self-doubt, kind of crushing on me a little bit. And then for me to just kind of say that out loud, it kind of took a lot of the weight off of my shoulders. And I realized, and I kind of talked through this with them. I was like, I am in a room with people who I can trust and who trust me to do the work and do the work well. And that's what we're here to do. And that's what we're going to do. So that was really reassuring.
How well does the work get done? You're getting paid at this point. You're working, I don't know how many hours a day, how many days a week you're working on this. But
yeah,
the precision that it takes to put on a Broadway play. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So just to answer your previous question, we are in rehearsals Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6 every day. Obviously that is all on hold now just because of COVID-19 and such. But when we are in the room, that is how long we're there. Other than our tech rehearsals, there is one day that's about a 12-hour day. We go from like 9:30 to 8 at night. And then there are 2 days of the week during that tech process that are 10 to 4. And those are straight sixes. So we get a 20-minute break, not a full hour, and we just run the whole thing through. But in terms of
stopping and starting while you're running it through? Are you going through? How's that go?
Yeah, for the majority of the tech process, we are stopping and starting just because we're getting light lines right. We're getting precision for effects. And I'll talk about the precision and stuff in a little bit, just because that's so interesting with all the like the fancy and the crazy, and it's great. But yes. Oh, I lost my train of thought.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you're talking about. I believe that for you.
That happens to me all the time.
It's the first time I messed up in the interview process. I'm doing all right.
It's okay. We're learning. It's okay. But in terms of the precision stuff of it, yes, we because Harry Potter is the thing that it is, and there is so much already behind it. Like it's not like a new show that you can just kind of throw up and be like, yes, it's going to be full of magic and this and that, and everybody's going to love it. It's not only that, but it kind of has like this cult following, and not in a bad way, in a great way. Like, all of the Harry Potter fans are such diehards that when it came to putting this show on its feet, it kind of had to live up to the world that J.K. Rowling created. And so with that comes a lot of responsibility on our ends to make sure that we are presenting this world in a way that is kind of acceptable to its following, but also to us. I mean, obviously, as long as we're proud of it, that's kind of what matters.
You had read the book. You had read
take through all of it, but
you had read the Harry Potter books.
This is a question that I talked about with my director in the rooms, like during my audition. He asked me, he was like, "So have you read the books?" And I was like, and he was like, "Wait, really?" And I was like, "I'm going to be so honest with you. When I was younger, I thought they were so long and I just couldn't. And I don't know why I never did, because I really regret it. And so now that I'm kind of immersed in this world, I'm taking it upon myself to make sure that I read the books beginning to end, just to really absorb and understand everything that it is that I am stepping foot into. And luckily, one of my best friends from college, shout out Kyle, has all the books in California, and he's going to send them to me at some point so that I can read them.
Right. Yeah, no, I didn't. That's kind of funny. And the thing I heard about the Harry Potter was that most plays and most books that are, that people are really popular, they're older, and the cult doesn't start when the book comes out. I mean, Harry Potter, what people expect of it, it's very current, and it's happening now. It's not like Superman or whatever other old story that has a history, so its fad started when it came out, which was really, there's a lot to live up to. So
Yeah, definitely. I
Are
think
are
there's
the
also something
rehearsals
that you,
are the rehearsals
yeah,
tough? Are the tech rehearsals tough? Are they demanding?
oh, definitely. Yes, 100%. It's a little easier on me as a swing, and my fellow swing people, just because when we are in tech rehearsals, the main people who are doing like our named roles that we cover are on stage doing the thing. So a lot of it for us is kind of just watching and making sure that we know what's going on and we're following all of our tracks. But I have had to step into some of the roles in doing tech rehearsals, and that's a time and a half because we are all as swings and as the new cast, we're learning everything in a room with people who already kind of know what's going on, but then they're adapting to the new stuff that we're changing, and we're learning the things that they're doing. And so it's very much a lot of trying to keep your brain like straight and like understanding what is going on and where you need to be and taking notes and getting out of the way because there's things coming when you're just backstage and you're like, what's going on? But a lot of it is very much just like you gotta stay focused, you gotta know where you're looking, and you gotta know where you're going, because there is 90% of the time going to be something coming on at the same time as you're going off, or like coming at you as you're leaving or going on. Like it's interesting.
Right. So yeah. Are you getting an echo, boys?
Uh,
Are you good?
too bad.
Okay. So okay, so that's backstage. You got to watch out for stuff coming on and that type of thing. When you say where you're looking, what are you talking about? Where you got to watch out where you're looking?
So there, just in terms of kind of spatial awareness, just because there is so, like I said, there's so much going on stage that sometimes there are certain things like for us to help like I guess guide, like, you know, like there are certain like if we're looking at Harry Potter, because everybody should be looking at Harry Potter because this is a big moment, you know, like it's just kind of making sure that your focus is pinpointed on certain things, and making sure that you do have that spatial awareness to know, like, okay, there are people on these things. And then of course in certain formations, like in dances and stuff, you have to make sure that you're in the right direction and that you're looking around you in like a peripheral way, so that you can make sure you're not going to run into anybody or smack them in the face or something.
Right. And then how much of it is the same as what you were doing, say, at Easton High School with Ricky Vitanovic? And there's none. You can say that. But when you said yesterday, you were talking about, well, you know, I was in the art scene, I was in the theater scene in Easton. So I went back over the interview. It's like, well, how much of a scene was there really? And you know, does it? I think I know the answer, but how does it translate to going to New York City and working, you know, on a Broadway stage?
Yeah,
I know
I
it's an
mean,
egotistical question. It's not really even fair, but like,
yeah,
you know,
no, definitely. I think Easton and New York, I mean, are kind of two completely different poles, like south. And in terms of the theater scene, like Easton, comparatively to New York, New York is very much a theater hub. Like it's everywhere. You turn the corner and like there's Times Square and there's this theater, there's that theater, there's this one. And Easton, it's definitely smaller, and it's definitely a smaller, kind of closer knit group of people, just because you
we're
kind
like
of know everybody who's involved, simply because it is such a small town.
we're like a perfect small town hub.
Yes, exactly. But being at Easton, I think I was very lucky in the way that Mr. V and Mrs. V ran their program in a way that kind of had expectations of us that would be similar if we went out into the world. Like they didn't take like any of the BS. Like it wasn't like, if you're going to be in this room, you're in this room and you're here for a reason, and we're going to create something beautiful together, and this is going to be a collaborative experience, not you against you type of thing. And so And I mean, I started working with the V's when I was in, I want to say 6th grade, something like that. I think was my first like legitimate time working with them, like through summer fame camp at the Avalon. And even in that setting, there was, expectations of professionalism, of pushing yourself, of not being afraid of yourself or your limits. And I thank them for that and for helping to instill that in me. I mean, obviously my mom started from a very young age, tried to tell me that I could do anything and this and that, but to be in a room with directors who believe the same in you, it's a beautiful experience, because not everybody can create a room as warm and as welcoming as others. And I'm very thankful that the majority of the people I have worked with in my career have been warm and welcoming and nothing but like kind-hearted spirits that really want everybody to thrive in the room, rather than just like kind of picking and choosing who their favorites are per se.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So I think they very much instilled a collaborative thing in me that I have very much tried to take to the city, and in being here for the past 3 years. All the collaboration, the love and joy for what you're doing, because like I said, if you're not happy, like, then what's the point? But to be able to go out on a stage and smile and just have fun, like, because that's the thing, theater can be intimidating because of like the vocal acrobatics or the this or the that or the awards or whatever. But when it comes down to it, it's really just people having fun and playing, like, and just living and playing pretend as if they would when they were 5, but as adults. And it's one of the best things that I have ever chosen to do with my life. So.
Right. Well, yeah, that's right. A play is a play, right? I mean, I lost you. Are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Oh, it just came back.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So Maya, I guess this is going to be kind of a stupid question, but following up that last question, how much better are you now than you were? Because you were really a great actress. You are a great actress. You put on some wonderful performances. You were just your body movements and your your expressions and that sort of stuff. I mean, I know you said you'd done some dancing. I could definitely see that in your performance, because the dancing was in your fingers. You know what I mean? Every part of your body. How much better are you now, having been up there, than what people saw when you were here?
I mean, I guess better. Like, I don't wanna try to sit here and be like, oh no, it's like, no. I mean, from what I was then to where I am now, I have definitely grown as an artist, as an actor, as a singer, as a dancer, as a human, as a woman of color. I have grown as all of the facets of myself, and I think that has really aided me in being able to give my 100% to whatever it is that I'm doing, whatever role that I'm taking on, whatever song I'm taking on, whatever dance piece I'm taking on. Like, I feel like because I have gone through, like some stuff in my life that has kind of torn me down in ways, I refuse to let myself be the thing that tears me down. And so in going through, I guess, school and just my life, I have tried to not compare myself to anybody else and just really grow from a place of Maya and from where I am. And I think that focusing on that has been one of the reasons why I feel like I have grown a significant amount, because it hasn't been about proving myself, or it hasn't been about trying to I guess just prove myself. Like, it's not about that for me, or to compare myself to somebody else. It's very much about.
Okay, and then again, I'm not going to have these things too long, and maybe we can have one more conversation after this, Maya, if you don't mind. But you proving yourself. The reason I'm asking how much better have you gotten is because it's assumed that when you go to New York to do this kind of work, that you're getting instruction that is much, much different than, say, you get down here. or in any place other than New York City, So I'm imagining you've gotten some great sort of nuggets to help your performance in a lot of ways.
Oh yes, definitely. Being in school for the 2 years that I was in primary training at NYU were two of the most fruitful years for my career ever. I learned so much from all of my professors, just from the fact that, they were all living and breathing in this world. They were Broadway actresses or actors or dancers or this or that. They were producers, directors. They were out there doing the things, and now they're coming back and telling us from a perspective of actually having done it, which is beyond something that I could have imagined at the time. Like, I was just like, oh my God, like these are people who have actually done the things, like this is what I want to do, and it's crazy. And then when you're in those rooms, you just want to absorb everything, because you're like, everything that you are saying is something that I could use. And so you're in there and you have notebooks upon notebooks, because every class wants you to have a notebook, and you're writing stuff and you're like, why am I writing this? This all seems kind of ridiculous, because when you're in the moment and you're a teenager and you're 19 years old and you're in the city and you're like, I want to go to sleep. Why am I in class? But then afterwards you realize I took all of these notes because every single one of these things I can apply. Like, whether it be in my life or in my art, like either way, like a lot of the things that I have learned can be applied universally. And I really love that about the training that I learned, because they didn't just teach us to be artists, they allowed us to be humans. And I think that was the best thing about that program.
There's a great quote I read years ago. It was, I learned science and spelling and mathematics in high school like I was supposed to, but I learned how to be a human being through the arts. So I really like that last thing you said there. I'm going to leave it at that right now, and then pick up next time when we talk about like some of the instruction, that sort of stuff that you've gotten in New York City, and then maybe talk about the fateful day when you found out that the Harry Potter was going to be postponed and what you're looking forward to next. So,
yeah, of course. Definitely.
You want to tell everybody your handle again on Instagram and let them know?
Yeah, definitely. What's up, guys? I'm Maya Thomas. My handle on Instagram is @MissMighty. That's MSMIGHTY with an underscore. And you can also find me on Twitter by that same name.
Maya, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself. This has been great, and I'll try to keep better asking questions. You just keep doing what you're doing, and thank you very much for
Sounds good. We'll talk soon. Good to see you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.